Kinda weird to be back, huh? Where do you even begin? Guess I'll just take a leap and start where my heart takes me. We all have those special memories, parts of our lives we cherish. Despite the twisted thoughts in our head, those vile brain goblins clawing a meager existence on the back of your misery, there's a joyful part of your past and present and a hope for the future. Sometimes we just need to look back. Where did a passion start? Where did our dreams form us to who we are and who we want to be? How about we start small? It's no secret, I love video games. Been playing games since 1998, and I was born 95. First game ever handed to me was The Lion King for the Sega Genesis. Never beat it, never even made it to Adult Simba. Just stuck on the bop that is I Can't Wait to Be King. Being tossed around by those silly little monkeys. But that's just the start. Road Rash 2, Sonic the Hedgehog 2, and Castlevania Bloodlines were also some of my most cherished Genesis memories. Hell, when I think retro music, I'm thinking Genesis music. Loud, grindy metal twang and low-quality sounds just bring me right back to Queens in the 90s and early 2000s. Funnily enough, I never beat any of those games. Not as a kid, and not now. Sonic 2 is probably the closest I got, but even that's... I didn't make past Metal Madness. Oil Ocean was also a bitch. Bloodlines, I always managed to get stuck in Germany, and Road Rash, well, that one just kind of go vroom vroom. Beaten or not, there's a fond nostalgia I have when I think of those titles. I'm curious what other people's first games were. In reality, there's one big title, though, we gotta go into. If we're talking nostalgia, what makes me a gamer I am today? What shaped even the hand I use when I write? We gotta talk about 1998's Nintendo 64 classic, Buck Bumble, everyone!
What about now? It's time to rock with the biggity buck bumble. What about now? It's time to rock with the biggity buck bumble. Bum to the bump to the bump to the bass. Bum to the bump to the bumble. Bum to the bump to the bump to the bass. Bum to the bump to the bumble. Bum to the bump to the bump to the bass. Bum to the bump to the bumble. Bum to the bump to the bump to the bass. Bum to the bump to the bumble.
Alright, it's Ocarina of Time. How can I not talk about this gem of a video game? That sense of adventure in 3D, Kokiri Forest's upbeat music contrasts with the dark, deep growl of Deep Below the Well. The absolute satisfaction of unlocking an entirely new part of the game by growing older 7 years. In A Link to the Past, you just picked up the sword and the adventure continued. The sword was slightly longer and broke a barrier in the castle. But Ocarina of Time, locking you away for 7 years, letting you wake up older, the big Hylian shield now snug on your back, Master Sword in hand, and a town ruined full of undead just outside. It was jarring, terrifying, and downright amazing. I remember my dad playing it first. It was a family event every weekend. My mother only has one functioning eye, and even though that's not too great, she loved games in the 2D era. The original Legend of Zelda, Castlevania, and Echo the Dolphin, of all things, were among her catalog. But once games turned 3D in the N64 era, well, she couldn't keep up, so my dad would play. She'd be involved in cheering and helping solve puzzles. Myself, I was the song boy. Had those notes memorized. Song of Time? Dad, how do you keep forgetting those things? Temple of Time again? Prelude of Light, Dad. It's so simple. Well, I have to assume he likely just forgot to make me feel included. I get home and my dad just goes, I didn't think it'd do anything, but we're big now. Pulled the sword out of a stone and I was so excited. Of course, the game got terrifying from there. Floor Masters and Wall Masters, Redeads and Gibdos, and Stalfos made me shake with fear. When it was my turn to play the game myself and do parts I missed seeing, I froze and had to think over and over, how do I avoid getting grabbed? And if I got grabbed, I was so uncomfortable. Honestly, it still sends me shivers now. Childhood fear is a crazy thing. I'm rambling, but hey, this stuff's important. Nowadays, I'm playing exclusives on Nintendo and Sony platforms and mainly playing on my Xbox to build achievements up. My goal is 100,000 gamer score by the end of the year, and I'm 81,000 now. Doable, but I think I'm going to have to be smart about not playing giant JRPGs or Yakuza. Yeah, Yakuza. Zero is what started this trend of realizing how much completion was enjoyable. I 100%ed that completion list, the climax battles, legend run, and all side stories and content. Loved every minute of it. Fuck! Fuck! Shit! Fuck! God damn it! I was having fun. Since Yakuza 0, I've kept going. Assassin's Creed is a guilty pleasure. I've 100%ed Oblivion and Fallout 3, Fable and Fable 2, Stranger of Paradise, which was an absolute chaos. And my wife hates every moment of that video game. I recently finished Death's Door, and that was a gem of an indie. Even ordered a physical copy from Special Reserve Games on PS5, because screw Xbox, I guess, to have a copy on my shelf. Video games have been an absolute light of my life. I am so glad I have friends who enjoy them, my wife enjoys them, and my parents do to an extent. It's a big part of my life. I adore the medium and use it to unwind when the mind gets too dark. Another thing I've grown so fond of recently are role-playing games with the friends. Monster Hearts, Unknown Armies, Changeling the Lost, Pendragon, and Vampire the Requiem with a twist of Masquerade. But that's a story for another time. I found a great friend recently, quite the wise man, insightful off the clock and an amazing storyteller. Catch us on twitch.tv/AWiseManOnce Tuesday, every other Saturday, opposite Sunday, and Friday at twitch.tv/RamblingManTV. Shout out to my boys. But I guess it's time to end this little ramble. It was no real point to this first one. Kind of just happens that I come back and don't really even have a plan. What even is Season 1? We'll figure it out together. There doesn't really have to be a point. But as a wise man once said, Avi, I didn't approve of this message.